Om Shanti. You have to listen carefully because there's a separation of different energies here. When we practice Raja Yoga, our consciousness is that we are peace. Peace, love, and happiness. That's the nature of every human being. And people have forgotten their original nature, and they don't practice. And why don't they practice? Because there's so much happening in the world, and so many different opinions, and so much conflict, and so much fear. And so when we talk of our conscience, we have to really think how to depict this. Because the teachings of Raj Yoga are never to be harsh with anyone, and never to be harsh with yourself, and never to give in to force or harshness that comes to us, except to be very royal and smile and stay peaceful. Whereas in the world, if you're told this is wrong, there are rules. You have to obey the rules of the world. And if you don't obey them, you're told that you'll be punished for this. There's a lot of fear in this thing about do the right thing. And I don't know how it can be the right thing if you're going to be traumatized by it, or become fearful, or become oppressed. And my conscience says, is this right? But then I cannot answer for the ways of others. And so it may not seem right to me, but if that is actually what's happening, then I have to very calmly and peacefully just hold myself steady and not interact too much with that. Keep myself separate. So we've come here to learn the ways of Raj Yoga, the ways of the world we know. The ways the world are imprinted on us, and we ourselves interact sometimes in that forceful way. Force doesn't make anyone love you. Force doesn't make anyone accept what you say. They just have to do it. They're forced. They're controlled by this force of anger, this energy. And if you happen to be in a position where you have to obey these rules, then you have to obey them. But you obey them if you know about your original nature. You would obey them with dignity, and you wouldn't actually put it into practice. You would just keep peace running in your consciousness. So, conscience is a moral wisdom, is the source of intuition. So, in Raj Yoga, we learn what's right and what's not right in a very moral way, like do no harm, don't hurt, don't force, and don't judge others. And that way, I can be useful to others. Even if they're saying something to me that's forceful and angry, and they don't like me and they're saying things, it's as if emotionally I don't go there, and they then don't get such a bad conscience for being like that with someone else. So we're able to soften the blow for people we interact with. But if you know about Raj Yoga, you do your best not to use force or anger or judgment in the wrong way. This is, if we contemplate doing something that's a bit harmful, then an alarm bell sounds. In our mind, we know that it's harmful. We know, everybody knows. That's what the conscience is. They know, but they do it anyway, and they'll do it anyway because it's the rules they've been told are the rules to go by. So there's two sets of rules, and we used to live by those forceful rules also. But if you've come to learn Raj Yoga, you've not come to learn the force of the world. You're in there all the time, seeing the force of the world. So, like a well-meaning friend, our conscience can be a harsh critic, because it would show us how we acted, if we acted okay or if we didn't act well. If you were forceful to someone, they would be upset. And if you really do look at your conscience, you would know that you did upset someone, and that upset will stay with them for ages. And so that will affect your conscience. You'll feel guilty. You wish you hadn't said it, but you can't take back what you said. And you can't take back the anger which you said it with. If we always listened to our conscience, we would steer ourselves safely through life. So we would make friends rather than enemies. You just have to look at your own track to when someone was abusive, harsh, told lies. It gets ingrained in your memory. You dislike it, you really dislike it. And you could spend years trying to erase that memory. And then when you come to Raj Yoga and you're told you should feel okay, give good wishes to those people, it's hard to think how to give good wishes. But the good wishes are also for your sake. It soothes your mind. And it teaches you how harsh and uncomfortable that was. So uncomfortable that you were mentally affected for years and years and years and years. And if you have suffered through force, anger and harshness, and you've realized how it affected over a long period of time, you would not want to do that to someone else. However, it takes a peaceful nature and it takes strength to be able to stop those harsh energies from coming forward. And that's where meditation comes in. We practice looking at our original nature of peace and happiness, lightness, kindness, friendliness. And we do our best to teach ourselves. We train ourselves with that different code of conduct to not cause harm to anyone, because in the causing harm to someone, I'm harming myself. And since I'm beginning to know better, I'm harming myself quite dramatically for having broken those rules of interaction. If we always listen to our conscience, we would be able to steer ourselves safely through life. But however, at one time or another, most of us fail to listen to our conscience. We react very quickly to a situation, and we feel as if we're justified because it's maybe so obvious that what's being said or done or how we've been treated is not right. And so we do the same thing back. We interact with a bit of force or a bit of, don't you dare speak to me like that, this is not right, or whatever. You know, that is anger. That's not helping the situation, because the other person will interact again with even more serious anger or hatred. Hatred because you had the nerve to criticize. And no one will like that, especially if they feel that they know. They know more than you. So you have to leave them to knowing more than you. And stay calm and peaceful. And keep your conscience as clear as possible. So there are two types of feeling guilty. You do feel guilty if you are harsh, and you can feel guilty if you know better, but you somehow step out of that. The first type is helpful guilt, reminding us something is wrong. So if we think, gosh, I shouldn't, no, don't get pulled into this. So I'm getting reminded by my conscience, don't go there, this is not the way that you've been thinking. Don't let the force and the anger of that situation force you into interacting. So the first type is helpful guilt, which reminds us not to go there. It reminds us something is wrong. If someone's having to push, shove and force and threaten me, and I think I'm worthy of being pushed, forced and threatened, I think that I'm going to just give in to that. We know now that we can remedy the situation and regain peace of mind by just taking it on the chin and staying quite calm and just not interacting with force from ourselves. So for that, again, you need the practice of meditation, stillness, calmness. And you need to believe that it's your energy, but you also have to believe that that's also the energy of the person who is being forceful. It's just that they've forgotten those energies. But the calm and the peacefulness belong to everyone. But if they're caught up in the fear and the anger and the blame, that's the energy they're at this moment choosing to use. So, the other type of guilt is imposed by others. And when we are children, our parents and teachers try to awaken a sense of right from wrong, but usually this is based on fear. If you don't do that, you won't get your sweeties, or go to your room, or it's based on fear, because they think they're doing the right thing, and as a child you don't have your energies of peace and love and stepping back, so you would squeak and cry and squeal because you wouldn't want them to take away your sweets or send you to your room or not let you out to play. If we're insecure, we do what others want because we fear rejection. So you think, oh, well, I'll just do it. Otherwise I'll get disliked or punished or cast aside or cast out. So, okay. So this is what we were doing. We were giving in to the person who was forceful because we didn't want the outcome of them not liking us when they've portrayed themselves as super powerful with a power over us. And we're like, oh, we didn't want that power to really overwhelm us, so we just would give in. So we don't want to be rejected, and so we might bypass guilt and fear by thinking, why shouldn't I do what I want for once? We get caught up in a negative cycle of thinking, and we can learn how to find our wisdom. This is once we grow up and become an adult. We can learn not to do that to anyone else that was most uncomfortable, and not to ingratiate ourselves with others who are forceful so as they would not dislike us or be even more forceful. Our original nature, and this is of everyone in the world, is gentle beings, loving beings, sensitive beings, with dislike. Everyone has dislike for violence. Everyone wants everything to be okay. But we don't know how to do that. To do that, we have to free ourselves from buying into the anger and the force. We have to free ourselves. And how can I do that? I can only do it through meditation. And if I don't do meditation, I just listen to this and it'll just go, wow. I'd have to actually practice and start to put the peace back into myself. It's already there, but it's in the background. I have to bring it forward every day through my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. And that is to be true to myself. That is to be true to my conscience. So we can learn to find our wisdom. And meditation brings peace of mind and puts us back in a space where we're then in a position to tune in to our own inner wisdom, inner power. And we've all got a background which shows us violence. All of us, every one of us, have had some form of dislike or force or anger thrown at us from childhood. But the parents don't know that's what's happening. They think they're just disciplining you for your own good. But it was very uncomfortable. And then as you get older, you have to comply, maybe to do with your work situation or whatever, but you have to comply to rules. And some people might be really unpleasant to be around. They take the rules as if it's their whip, their way. They'll make you do this, and they get great relish in telling people, this is the rules and you'll be in trouble if you don't do it. So you have to find methods to be humble and yet strong and head up and comply. If it's the rules of the work situation or the rules that you're in a position that you're supposed to follow, you have to follow, but you can follow not through the force or anger, but through your choice, which says stay peaceful and smile and just do this work. It's just a job. When we tune into our own wisdom, we can become our own best friend. And then we build inner strength and we find inner wisdom. So all of us know what it's like to be at the other end of force, aggression, and fear. And the ways of the world are exactly that. There's a few people who do everything to be kind and nice, but the rule is this push and fire and shove, and even all the rules now change at a fast speed, and you've nothing, you can't do anything about it. And it's like we're cutting all this out, we're doing this and we're doing that. It's like, whoa. But you need to practice who you are and keep your own consciousness up and running with calm, peace. This is the way it is. This is what's happening. I'm not going to compromise my energy by being upset or upset with anyone, because no one can do anything about it unless we practice calmness and peacefulness, which is the start of self-control. It's a controlling power for the self. I am the energy in the center of my forehead. And I am peaceful. I am loving. I am kind-hearted. And I am strong and unshakable. Your peace is locked in your intellect. It's called your third eye. And unless you practice being still and peaceful, you cannot open your intellect. And so you cannot see what's in there. That's why no one knows what to do. No one knows the correct procedure. Even though they're peaceful, their peace is locked in their intellect. And unless they practice to bring that peace out, they can't use it. They can use the word peace, but they can't practice the vibration of peace. The vibration of peace can work wonders for myself as well. Because all of this is our own journey. We cannot, we're not here to train the person who's angry or to punish them with peace because they're angry. That if they choose to be forceful, that's the way they are. I can't change them. Raj Yoga is to change yourself. So I can safeguard my own energy by practicing peace. And I can strengthen my peaceful energy that's starting to trickle through. But it is a practice. There's no way around it. I mean, the rest is all words. You can learn a whole load of words and, oh, this is this, how this works, this Raj Yoga works like this. But if I'm not practicing it, I'm not bringing my good energy to the front, which is opening my third eye. Otherwise, it's locked in my intellect. And so everything I do is to protect myself. I have to protect myself from getting pulled into force or influenced by force. And during that interaction, I can be helping the other by not shouting back at them and getting annoyed with them. I'd get annoyed myself, which means I've lost my peacefulness. And then I get annoyed with them, and that makes them want to challenge it even more and even more. So they get weakened by that force. Their body health deteriorates, they get weakened, they lose their energy. So it's merciful for me to look after my energy so as I don't react in that way, and I thereby don't encourage others to keep going with their force or their anger or whatever it is they're using. Okay, thank you. Every human soul, everyone on the planet, millions, billions, their original nature is peace. And at first, we're able to use that peace and stay calm and friendly. Along with peace comes calmness, kindness, peace, love and happiness, strength, courage. All of this comes from peace. So we're able to interact very nicely with each other. As time goes by, the physical world, we're interacting with that every day, and we're learning all these other rules and regulations. And because I'm interacting with matter, I'm not being spiritual. I might be religious, but that's not spiritual. I'm interacting with matter. I'm losing my energy. I'm losing, just like a battery starts to run down, I'm losing my energy. And the more I lose my energy, the more disturbed I get and less peaceful I get. So this happens to everyone. But for some people, there comes a time when it's just their time to have had enough of this force and interaction, and they start to check it out to see how can I become peaceful again. And so thousands and thousands of souls are all coming back to practice Raj Yoga meditation. And you start to put your peace back in again, which is your energy for life. It's your natural energy. Without peace, I can't be kind. Without peace, I can't be loving. Without peace, I can't have happiness. Without peace, I can't have courage. Without peace, I can't have determination. Peace is the foundation of everything I would ever wish to be. And people have lost that foundation. So in place of that, they're putting force, rules, regulations, anger, dislike, all sorts of terrible things that are happening out there, war, even war. They have lost their peace. So when I start to regain my peace, I regain my original strength. So it's well worth doing meditation. I regain my original strength, my original power. But it's not like a magic wand. Suddenly I have all my power back. No, I have to keep looking at myself, checking, doing meditation, having self-respect, and interacting more and more kindly with others. Because if I interact back in their way, I'm allowing them to become weakened more and more than they're weakening themselves. Okay.
So could you say just a little bit more about how not to harm the self, or how not to use others to harm the self? Because there's plenty of quotes about that kind of thing, like, I use you to hurt me. So how do I stop the habit that comes in body consciousness?
Well, we want to make excuses for ourselves, and we blame others, and we blame situations, and we blame the weather, and we blame everything we can blame, rather than the fact that I was uncomfortable, and so such and such said such and such a thing, and so, but they made me, we'll say, they made me say this, or this circumstance forced me to say that. So you blame others for your own weaknesses, and that's not the very good thing to do, I would say. But at this point in time, it's the time when no one has done anything wrong. No one takes any blame. They will blame the government, they'll blame everything. They will blame everything for whatever's happened and never think, gosh, maybe it was me. Maybe I could do it better. So Raj Yoga is saying, maybe you can do it better. Have a look and start doing your best to do it, whatever it is, better. Okay.
So just final point then, that is really for me the crux of it. How do you move into that sort of like positive conscience that you spoke about, so that I see, oops, I could have done that better. Oops, I could have been more stable. Oops, I wasn't so peaceful there. And then you quickly think, keep it buoyant, keep it positive. You don't go, oh, I could have been, oh, I wasn't very, oh, you know, because the more aware you become, the more you become aware of, you might call your weaknesses or your faults. Yeah. So how do I use that awareness and that responsibility to keep not harming myself, but becoming, how I really want to be?
I would say that you need to start to enjoy the journey and enjoy the fact that you actually want to feel okay about everything, and you want to not cause harm to others, and you want them to enjoy the journey. And so you use your energy in that way. What would you say, Marilyn?
Exactly that, Sister Rose. Buoyancy, lightheartedness, seeing it all like a game,
virtues,
enthusiasm.
I think we've forgotten what's actually on the menu. And on the menu, there is friendliness, lightness, lightheartedness, happiness, kindness, strength, sweetness, courage, determination, enthusiasm. Oh, and that's just a few. But all the nice qualities of interaction, making people feel comfortable, at ease, etc., etc. There's so many virtues, but because we're so caught up in whatever's happening out there, we never get around to thinking of these beautiful energies, which also can be released when I practice being peaceful. They're locked in my intellect. And when I start to be peaceful, those beautiful energies can start bouncing out and around. I think, just be kind to that person. Just appreciate that person. Just be helpful, etc., etc. Things you would never have thought of, except have revenge or run away from or dislike or whatever would have been coming out. Hate this situation. Oh, my goodness. And having this feeling of dislike and revenge. But now it's, be helpful, be kind, do say something useful. So when I practice meditation, all of these energies can start coming out to assist me, but to assist everyone else as well. Om Shanti.
The true self, taking just a minute in calm silence I observe that I am energy, a point of immortality, different from the energies of time, sound, and matter. I begin to realize that I am an actor within this costume, my body, playing my part on the stage of life. Remembering my point-like reality, I feel the strength of peace and love empower and free me from everything hurtful. Now, I have the strength to master the external world of relationships and situations.